Good morning, first grade. I hope everyone's having a great day. All right, I am excited because we are starting what I think was the book most of you were really interested in and were excited to read when we did our book tasting, and that is Bigfoot Cinderrrrella. So, you do have a copy of this book. So, if you would like to pause the video really quickly and go ahead and grab your copy, I will, of course, show it on the screen as we are reading, but feel free to grab your copy. All right, I'd also like to try the Ed puzzle thing again so that you have a chance to share some questions or things that you notice while we're reading. If for some reason the Ed puzzle is not working for you, no worries, don't worry about it. I'll include the link to just the regular video to watch this. And feel free to share anything just directly through Seesaw if you would like to. All right, so let's first think about, or let's take a quick look at our pizza questions, our bite of pizza questions. What do I notice and wonder about Bigfoot Cinderrrrella? So we're at the first stage, the first step to share what we notice and wonder. And our one slice of pizza question will be, what do I admire about Rough Face Girl and Ella, which you'll see is a character from here. So we'll keep on working towards answering that question. But today our main focus is notice and wonder. All right. So I'm going to put up an Ed puzzle question here for you to think about. What are some of the elements that we have been learning about that are in all Cinderella stories? What are some of those common elements? I'm going to ask you if you can think of one to share one here. And then while you're listening to the story, I want you to keep that element of Cinderella's story in mind and see if you can figure out in this book who is that element or what is that element. So, for example, if the element that you thought about was that all Cinderella stories have an evil character, and that's what you shared. As you're listening to this, see if you can really pay attention and identify who is the evil character in this story. Okay? All right, so you can share that now, and then we're going to go ahead and read, and I will give you a chance at the end of listening to the story to share anything you noticed, as well as share any questions that you have. Okay? All right, so let's jump in and enjoy. All right, Bigfoot Cinderrella by Tony Johnson, James Warhala. Saying that correctly. Okay. Once upon a time, in the old growth forest, a band of Bigfoots lived. An enormous snag towered above the other trees close to their camp. Inside its hollow halls of bark lived a dashing Bigfoot prince. He was tall and dark as a Douglas fir, with feet like cedar stumps. He was as odoriferous as his tree home was coniferous, and so horrendously hairy that Bigfoot women near and far longed to marry him. Whenever they saw him lurching along, they blocked his path like deadfalls. They draped wildflowers around themselves. They batted their matted eyelashes to stun him into love. But the prince loved nature best. No, pick flowers, he bellowed at them in a voice as rough as bark. In this place there lived a Bigfoot woman and her three daughters. Well, really only two were hers. The third was a stepchild. The daughters were puny things with dinky feet, almost furless as Bigfoots go, and as sour as little green berries. They spent their days bathing and picking their teeth with fish bones and sleeking their fur with pine cones. For fun, they threw rocks at spotted owls. The stepdaughter was just the opposite, nearly as woolly as a mammoth, golden as a banana slug, with feet like log canoes. She loved nature and would harm no creature. Her stepsisters despised her and they made her work. Although her name was Ella, they roared at her so much that everyone called her Rella, Rella, fix fire, Rella, catch fish. They forced her to comb her fur and stick wildflowers in it. If she tugged them out, they put back twice as many. In spite of this primping, Rella was sooty from the fire and stinking with fish, so they teased her like stinging mosquitoes. You beast, they laughed and held their noses. You positive reek. Then they bathed her in a lot in the creek. Eek! One morning Rella went to the river to get supper. She fished all day and tossed her catch onto the bank in a slivery pile. Suddenly a grizzly bear appeared. He seemed hungry. Rella was bigger than the bear, so she could have shooed him away, but she was too kind. She let him have the fish. When she shambled home empty-handed, her stepsisters rubbed their bellies and bellowed, "Food! Food! Food!" They forced her to fish all night. Now, every year the Bigfoot Prince gave a great fun fest. There were gifts and food and games like jump the fire, bear cave hide and seek, and hurl the hemlock. But log rolling was the favorite. This year, whichever woman rolled the prince off a log and into the river would become his wife. Rella's puny sisters hoped to dunk the prince. When me snag putrid furball prince, me rule whole tree place, yelled the older one. Me pick all flower, the younger one grinned. Then they bellowed together. Power, power, power. So they smoothed their pitiful fur. Then, spruced up with wildflowers and wearing fine bark clogs to grip the log, they clumped to the festival. Me go too? Rella hollered after them. She adored to sweat and win at games. Her sisters hooted so hard they fell down. You stay, catch plenty fish. We catch Prince. How Rella longed to go. Sadly, she stared at the river. She saw a fish jump. She made a wish on the fish. Me wish go fun fest. Me wish dunk Prince. Heartfelt wish is true wish, growled a gruff voice, and so you go. Rella spun around. She was staring at a bear, the very one who she had given fish. Who you? She asked. Me, your berry godfather. Rella was overjoyed, then underjoyed. She mumbled, Me got no bark clogs to keep on log. Feet's too big. No be bug brain, snorted her godfather. He swiped the air with a paw, and instantly an enormous pair of clogs appeared. Rella tried them on. They fit perfectly. Then the grizzly waved a paw over her, and poof! The wildflowers she wore were dust. He patted and matted her fur, and it tangled like the very forest floor. She boomed, Thanks, and gave him a crunching hug. Be back sundown, he warned, or you be like sisters make you. No furry and smelly, but plenty flowery. Rella wasn't worried. She had lots of time. She skipped off, shaking the whole forest as she went. At the Fun Fest, there were Bigfoot women from every clan. The games had begun. One by one, the women leaped onto a log where the prince crouched, ready. One by one, he dumped them into the river. Rella's stepsisters hated games, but to catch the prince, they'd do anything, even give logs a twirl, and they hoped a good drenching might even wash off his stench. But they never got the chance. When their turn came, the prince saw their wildflower chains and glowered. He tossed them in the water, snarling, No pick flowers. The day grew late. Everyone had tried to win. Everyone had failed. The Bigfoot prince rumbled, Rats, no bride. He was about to slouch home when, thunk, Rella bounded onto the log, pounding her chest and whooping, Me dunk prince! Grunting with all her might, she spun the log like a big twig. Then she gave it a twist and flop! The prince flopped into the river. There was stunned silence. The Bigfoots were slow-witted, so it took them a while to figure out what had happened. When at last they began to chant, "Bride! Bride! Bride!" The sun was setting. Rella saw that and rushed into the dense trees, shrieking, "Eek!" just as her matted fur went sleek and wildflowers began to sprout. The prince lurched from the water, dripping and crushed. His dream woman, shaggy as the forest floor, smelly as a fish, and strong, was gone. Scratching his craggy head, he slumped down on a boulder. Drat! 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 He gnashed his mossy teeth. "Where'd my stinking beauty go?" Then he saw one big bark clog. Hers! Now perhaps he could find his princess. The prince shuffled from snag to snag, cave to cave, lugging the lost clog, but through all the Bigfoot women tried it on, it was too large for anyone. The moment he reached Rella's cave, her stepmother and stepsisters pounced on the prince, wrestled the claw from him, and jumped into it eagerly. Were so small, their feet were so small, they all fit at once. Then Rella bounded up, yelling, "Me try, me." She did, and her foot fit the clog like a seed in a pod. When she pulled out its mate, the Bigfoot prince knew he'd found his bride. He thumped his chest and roared with joy. The stepsisters roared too. In tantrums, they yanked up some wildflowers and saplings. Their mother kicked the prince black and blue. Oh my goodness. Soon there was a rowdy wedding in the old growth forest. Everyone was invited. Even Rella's stepmother and stepsisters could come, if they followed these rules carefully. No pick flower, no pull tree, no kick royal family. And that is the end. Oh, I really liked that book. I hope you enjoyed it as well. So now, if you would like to share something that you noticed and then a question that you had, something that you wondered. And since you have the copy of the book, feel free to look back through it to help you come up with a question that you have. I know there were some words in there that maybe you weren't sure the meaning of the words. So those are always good questions. What does blank mean? But just remember the wonder wheel: who, what, where, when, why, or how. And I can't wait to hear what you think about Bigfoot Cinderrrrella. All right, thanks guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.